African rice. The decades following 1492 launched an unparalleled exchange of crops in what has become known as the Columbian Exchange. In underscoring the significance of maritime expansion for global seed exchanges, scholarship on the Columbian Exchange has drawn attention to the critical role of Europeans in revolutionizing transoceanic food systems with the introduction of Amerindian and Asian seeds to Africa. Relatively little attention, however, has been directed to the African plant domesticates that also figured in the Columbian Exchange. This neglect is surprising for several reasons. Africans domesticated several life-sustaining cereals. Crops grown in Africa routinely provisioned the slave ships that delivered at least 11 million forced migrants to the New World, and the establishment of many African staples in the Americas resulted from the deliberate cultivation by slaves of preferred food crops. In illuminating the botanical history of plants domesticated in Africa, this article seeks to correct a long-standing distortion in the literature on the Columbian Exchange. Emphasis in this article is placed on the contribution of African indigenous rice cultivation to the shaping of New World food systems. Divided into three parts, the discussion begins with a list of diverse plants domesticated by Africans in three principal centers of agriculture origins. As Africans and Asian crop exchanges were underway millennia before the arrival of European navigators in the 15th century, these ancient plant dispersals reveal a bias against African accomplishments in plant domestication that emerged in the modern era. The second section identifies key African plants introduced to the Americas through the Atlantic slave trade, against a background of scholarship that emphasizes the role of Amerindian plant, shows how subsequent research on rice in the Columbian Exchange undervalues the contribution of African indigenous crops and Africans to Atlantic agriculture history. The final section lists key African domesticates planted by slaves with Maroons who fled bondage.